A very warm welcome, everyone, for the second, in fact, panel discussion today, the data dilemma, balancing privacy and security in the digital age. I am Pooja Banerjee. I am the Senior Assistant Editor for Elets Technomedia. I handle the e-governance vertical along with BFSI, digital learning, and brand story, and e-health as well. So I welcome all our esteemed panelists today. And one by one, I'll just welcoming everyone again. Mr. Jitendra Jadhwani, Chief Information Security Officer, Tata Motor Finance. Welcome, sir. Mr. Sunil Nishankar, Chief Information Security Officer, Future General India Life Insurance. Mr. Praveen Mishra, Senior Vice President, Information Security, Yes Bank. And Mr. Manoj Gujaran, Chief Compliance Officer, Poonawalla Fincorp. Welcome, everyone. So I would like to ask everybody for a 1-minute opening remark, if you could just to get on the flow for the questionnaire sessions and all. So about the topic, like the data dilemma, balancing privacy and security in the digital age. So I would like to start with Mr. Jitendra, if you could tell your opening remark in 1 minute at least.
Thank you. So thank you, Pooja, and your team for inviting us here, and I thanks Abhishek, who was my office colleague. Now, my opening remark, or if I want to just make one point on this subject, is data collection is essential for the business. Data processing is must because that's why data is collected. But most important and most neglected part is that data management is to be done with a lot of responsibility, because when who's giving you the data is entrusting you with the information which they believe that we will protect and take care of it and not let it get misused or abused. So the responsibility is there on the company to protect the data which we get from all the stakeholders, and that is why the whole thing is all about how do you manage convenience of data collection, data processing, and still have a stringent controls in place that the data is well protected.
Sure. I would like to pass on to Mr. Sunil Nishankar. If you could kindly tell us about your opening remark on today's topic.
Sure. I will say heading is very catchy, but really, is there any dilemma? Do you think that? If you are an entity and you are regulated, then I don't think there should be a dilemma. You might be following some international accreditations, you might be following regulatory compliances, so that makes you a very eligible candidate to comply with both security and privacy things, because those two are nothing but same side of like two sides of same coin. If you are doing one, automatically it will be enhancing other.
Absolutely. Mr. Praveen Mishra, if you could tell your opening remarks.
So I think in the previous era, we can say before data privacy law was planned to be implemented in India, we have been practicing perimeter security or infrastructure security on priority. Data security was there, but not in proper shape. Now, the time has come, we protect the actual data rather than just the infrastructure, because the perimeter is kind of gone and data is everywhere. So protecting your customers' data is, I think, the most important part now. So that's the change which we have into. Yeah.
Sure. Mr. Manoj, if you could tell your opening remarks.
Yeah, so I will put it into two categories. On a serious note, because we are regulated by RBI, so we anyways have a regulation with respect to data privacy also and data security also. Now we are having one more act and then the rules will come. I think the only dilemma, on a lighter note, the second part is who will be data protection officer, whether it will be CISO or there will be some other person. So I think that will be the dilemma which organizations would need to handle and figure out once the rules are in place.
Sure. So moving on to the questionnaires today, I would like to ask Mr. Jitendra Jadhwani, how can financial services organizations maintain strong data security practices without compromising the quality of customer experience in contact centers?
Thank you, Pooja. I would just share my views with the august audience here. Actually, this first opening question is a very appropriate one because the call center is actually the weakest link in the entire thing because that is manned by the executives who are not well trained or they are just taken at a lower cost to run the system, and the call center doesn't get the attention from the organization. वो call center है अपना काम करेगा, let's focus on the HO or the regions. And that is a very important for all us to know that the call center is an essential security threat to an organization, and we should look at it very, very carefully. From my perspective, when I looked at my call center from a security angle, there were 3 or 4 aspects which I will share with you all with my views. The most important thing is when you're taking the call center, when you're connecting with the customer, there should be a security authentication done. So your most important thing is don't call up a customer and say, give me this information. There should be an OTP to authenticate as a 2-factor authentication, which should be done mandatorily. Otherwise, that can be misused and abused. Now, having got the data from connected with the customer is giving you the data. Try to minimize the information exchange between the customer and a call center. Try to automate. So video KYC as well as the information through IVR is what we should encourage, so that less information passes between human beings. They're all automated. After when you have looked at this aspect, then we should most importantly we should look at is there must be X number of people in the call center as agents. Who has to see what? So the most important thing is don't have a common screen. Look at roles and responsibilities very carefully, that which user should see what and what is the data we should be on the screen. So use the data minimization principles, that I should only show that data, what is essential to be seen, and only to those who have to see. Otherwise, the information can be excessively exposed, and then have the user access reviews around it. Data masking is one concept which we should look at it on a call center. The data should be masked, the log should be maintained. And lastly, the most neglected part in a call center are the end user devices. Call centers normally get a devices which are not in the peak of their form, and they are unko call center bhej do. So as a CISO, I realize the danger that the machines in the call center are not the peak of the machines. So we should look at the endpoints from a perspective of patching. We should put EDR onto the endpoints and have the concept of doing a review of risk management on the endpoints, and none of them should be end of life, end of support. So all these are the factors which I looked at it when I looked at the call center part, because I knew the call center was seen कि call center है, वहाँ पे लोग बैठे हैं, phone कर रहे हैं. But that is the most susceptible part from of a threat actor, because they know the call center is the weakest link in the entire chain of an organization.
Absolutely. So moving on, I would like to ask Mr. Sunil, with the increasing adoption of cloud-based solutions, what key steps should financial services organizations take to mitigate security risks while ensuring seamless data flow? If you could answer this.
That's a very relevant question, I would say. Nowadays, what's happening? A lot of shift is happening from your traditional on-prem environment towards cloud. They had their own pros and cons. Everyone will have different perspective on that. But cloud is the only future which I can see. So while moving to the cloud, what you need to do, right? Leveraging the perks of cloud, all we need to ensure the security angle right from its very own design. The way when you start adoption of cloud, okay, what cloud you are using, how it's going to connect, is it going to be a SaaS-based service, or is it like totally ISaaS infrastructure? Whatever it is, you need to start thinking of it. You need to find out the interjunctions where it's going to connect to your network, and then you need to think of proper planning, right? What data is going to reside, how it's going to reside, what kind of encryptions are there, what kind of certifications we are planning to get for that cloud environment, plus how we are going to control access, what kind of compartmentalization we are trying to plan over there. Everything we need to conduct. Plus, cloud security will be always a concern, so we need to have regular VAPT exercise, penetration testing, your application security testing over there. So that's how we can keep it safe. Plus, if it is like you are hosting application on it and that application is exposed to internet, then one might to have different set of controls to secure that. Like one need to have web access, WAF to, for that, plus geofencing where it is possible. There are many more security topics which we need to consider.
Absolutely. If you would like to, I would like to ask this similar question to Mr. Praveen about cloud-based solutions, that what are the increasing adaptations of cloud-based solutions, and what key steps should financial services organizations take to mitigate security risks while ensuring a seamless data flow?
So I think I would have to add what my co-panelist has said. But then from a financial perspective, we are being regulated. That's the key factor. So ensure we are compliant to that. And adopting the cloud, there are few things which needs to be considered. Although cloud is the future, but then we need to understand, does this service actually needs to go on cloud? Cloud does offer the ease of implementation, and it's very easy. So I think first step is whether you want your data to go outside your perimeter. Okay, that's something first we need to check. And if yes, because financial services are dependent more on fintech players and other supporting players who provide microservices. So it makes sense, it may be required. So having the appropriate controls is very much mandated. So data localization is the first aspect. Second one is having the security controls like WAF, the continuous posture management. And I think the biggest risk with the cloud is most of the breaches which happen on the cloud is due to misconfiguration. So ensuring that the configuration is kind of secure and having it reviewed real time, not just point in time. So that's one of the key. And having the appropriate monitoring controls like a CSPM or a CNAP solution, which does mention any changes happening and anything which is impacting the cloud services, or if there is any vulnerability identified or a misconfiguration identified, we are able to mitigate it before any kind of malicious or any kind of unforeseen event happens. So I think these are the major steps. Of course, continuous monitoring is the basic or the most important aspect when you move to cloud.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Manoj, I'll come to you. What strategies can financial services organizations implement to restrict access to sensitive data and ensure that employees handling customer data are properly trained in the security protocols?
So access to information asset should be given on a valid business need basis only. Continuous monitoring is very important. Periodic or comprehensive training to employees is essential. And when there is a cloud service that is being used, employees should consider it as a shared responsibility between the organization and the service provider. As just the panelists said, that we need to continuously monitor it, do periodic audits. There should be obligation clearly mentioned in the agreement that we execute with service providers, that in case of any breach or something, there should be a prompt information given to the entity whose data is being breached. As far as employees is concerned, I think sensitizing the employees, mentioning clarifying and department specific training to employees will help them to ensure confidentiality and integrity of data when they are accessing the same. I think that should be ensured.
I think data compilation is the main idea about providing privacy and security to the customers. So moving on to Jitendra ji, I would like to ask you the same question. Like, what strategies can financial services organizations implement to restrict access sensitive data and ensure that employees handling the customer data are properly trained in the security protocols?
So I would just build upon what my esteemed colleague has said, that the most important thing from a perspective of the cyber security is the information security and data privacy. So when I'm talking about information security, all of us know that we have to have a the firewall, we have to have WAP to be available, EDR should be there should be data classification policy, there should be DLP implemented. So we all are aware about all this, and this has to be necessary and mandated to be there. But when the whole focus shifts on the data, we are not treating it or viewing it in a manner which it deserves the attention. Most importantly, from a data privacy angle, there should be a data flow diagrams created. What is my PII data? Which system it is lying? Who's handling it? What risks are there? And then only I'll be able to understand how to protect what I am getting in the organization. The other aspect of this is to carry out the data privacy assessment for the applications. That is most important point. Then you have the data retention policy. Which data should be kept for how long? And then obviously you have got data masking and data deletion, data access, data rights. So all those aspects of the data privacy have to be seen. And then you have to ensure that the data is visible to only those who have to see it. So same thing I told earlier, data minimization, data access and data access control review. I'm just telling all this because almost all of you must be also aware, but I'm just sharing my views. This is what we are doing. But when it comes down to the training part, Pooja, I would want to mention again, just as a call center is seen as something वो call center है करेगा, I security training also is meaning एक साल में एक बार एक presentation दे दो या एक साल में एक बार webinar दे दो हमारा tick mark हो गया. But you know, all of us, the CISOs know and the whole organization know, not all the executive officials know that 88% of the security breaches are because from the user perspective. And not that a user is ill-intentioned or malicious. The user is ignorant. He's not able to understand the actions he's doing. So how many of us actually do the phishing attack simulation every quarter, every 2 months? If I ask you, I don't think anybody will raise the hand because till today phishing attacks are once a year. Oh, phishing attack kiya, हमने कर दिया. So focus on user training in a very manner that the user gets involved. So I am suggestion or 2-3 which I am practicing out, and I have got my marketing colleague Abhishek who's helping us out and we're doing it systematically. Now look at this in a gamification. Most importantly, whose responsibility data security? It is not the CISO, it's the business. They are generating the data. So does the functional head know that data security is his responsibility rather than leaving it to CISO or the IT team? So involve the functional heads, have a gamification, have incentivization, give them awards, give them recognition, and make it into a mouth serve. So that the security awareness is everybody's job. And the security is everyone's responsibility, not only the duty of the privacy officer. So invest in training in a very creative manner so that the people get interested and they enjoy learning about it because they only have to implement it.
Absolutely. So I'll come to Mr. Sunil further. Coming to artificial intelligence now. How can technologies like artificial intelligence and interactive voice response be leveraged to enhance data security in customer interactions, especially when dealing with the sensitive information like payment details?
Okay, so AI can help a lot. I can see a lot of shifts happening toward AI, right from addressing the query, coming to contact center or maybe whatever media you are opening for customer to connect with you. You can see that that query is getting analyzed automatically, responses are getting framed, right from extracting your policy, sending it to that particular customer. Everything can be automated with the help of AI. That drastically turn down your response time. That also enhance your user experience. Okay, that also help you to improve your customer satisfaction ratio. So that all AI can do. Apart from that, where there are certain payment issues involved, someone want to make a payment, then what we can do, we can use automated IVR, where we can have that IVR played, and then at certain point of time, user intervention is required. User can put their credit card details and OTP, and then payment can be done. That way we can limit the exposure. There are classic frauds where people are writing down credit card numbers along with their expiry thing, and then they are also asking customer OTP, and they are doing that fraud. These practices can be curbed just because of usage of AI and all that. So I will say AI has a huge potential. Apart from this, what AI can do, AI can also gauge the mood of customers from whatever complaint they are making to you. It can do a sentiment analysis on top of it. It will let you know, okay, this customer is angry, maybe he's frustrated, or maybe he's looking for something else. Maybe you can talk to him in a different tone. That kind of gestures we can identify. We can calm them down. So that also help you to successfully handle these customers.
Do you think, just to add, do you think that AI will change the entire scenario in the future? Like, what is your take on it?
Yeah, I will say though AI will be there, but 100% it will not be automated. Human intervention will be required because no one can replace human brain. AI is ultimately a brainchild of human. So we are not going to spare from that. So there will be certain task which we are running it manually, which is taking it, which are time consuming. Those can be automated, but not the whole process, because the way technology is changing, problems will also keep evolving. To solve that problem, again, you will need human mind.
Absolutely. So, similar question I would like to ask to Mr. Praveen. How can technologies like artificial intelligence and interactive voice response be leveraged to enhance data security in customer interactions, especially when dealing with sensitive information like payment details?
I think AI is a boon and bane both. Okay, so there are two aspects to it. AI, thankfully, AI has been adopted by many companies now, and it's still at a nascent stage where it actual use is, showcased to the customers. Although we have some interactive voice models where, voice is used as an authentication mechanism, but then the same model is used by hackers as well. We have seen so many frauds happening with a person's voice being spoken to a human, and human is not able to identify with whether that person is real or a clone. So that's the risk of using AI. But then certainly AI has a wonderful usage if we are using it for some monotonous or standard task where it would certainly reduce the possibility of human error. That's something which is which very good. And the second thing is AI can be used, or probably when we use machine learning along with it and build a LLM model, probably in a closed environment, not the open one, a closed LLM where it is restricted to the environment and it is using the data, based on the customer behavior, and we can use risk-based authentication. So unlike for the customer experience, we have been asking the same question, your date of birth, your PIN code or your address for verification. Machine learning can develop new questions which is specifically known to the customer. So the hacker would not have access to it. So that way there is one potential use case where we can reduce customer frauds, which is the basic issue or rather the issue which the customers are facing. Okay, and over a period of time, apart from the use of AI, certainly for business analytics, it is used on a large scale as of now. So having a customized kind of offer for the customized product for him based on his usage, his pattern, and we can enhance the customer experience as well. He knows if we find someone who is using a Zomato or he's a car freak, you can customize an offer and give him a deal based on those products. So that way the customer experience can be enhanced. But certainly there is another challenge which we have. A new trend has come in for deepfake, which is potentially used for video KYCs as well. There has been one or two cases where deepfake videos are used for video KYC. So again, AI can be used to detect these as well, but certainly the role of humans cannot be eliminated at this stage. But all the kind of monotonous or some mandatory task, like every time there is for a financial transaction to happen, there has to be a 2FA. So you can use some risk-based approach that would certainly eliminate the usage of OTP, because SIM cloning is another challenge which we have. So we have to move to a different authentication mechanism for transactions. So that's certainly a good potential use case for AI.
Absolutely. Deepfake is a very rising threat nowadays, and I'm sure that actions are being taken and work is being done to enhance the security system, I'm sure. So moving on to Mr. Jitendra ji, I would like to ask you this: with the number of cybersecurity breaches on the rise, what proactive measures should financial services firm take to detect and respond to potential threats, especially in the context of customer service?
Pooja, this is a very vast subject because this encompasses the entire security gamut of operation. But I will try in a minute or two to summarize it. See, from a security angle, the most important thing we should start is because security is not one thing. It is depending on an organization. Someone may have IoT issue, someone would be having an API issue. So do a risk assessment strategy is the most important thing. You start your security journey. So once you have done your risk assessment, which should be done at least once or twice a year, identify where are the gaps which are lying. And there are very common tools which we all implement. Start with your network NAC, the network authorizing control, to ensure unauthorized devices don't come in. Then you have got WAF, which is supplementing your firewall to augment your application security. Then you have got, do the data classification. Most of us don't have a data security framework. So have a data security framework which allows you to classify the data, manage the data based on the severity, have data retention policy, and have an associated controls. Then you will also be having an EDR. Most important thing is to have endpoint detection and response on all our endpoints. We should be protecting our servers with also they be managed by the HIPS installed. Are we taking an adequate data backup of our end user? And also, I don't know how many of the CISOs are actually looking at the data backup being done by IT and restoring the full data. So, that is another important facet which goes on. And apart from that, I've already mentioned about the data access control, data management. So this whole thing all about is, most important thing is, have we done the CCMP risk drill? We all know that when the cyber security happened, we have to follow CCMP. CMT is there. But how many times CMT actually met? How many times the drill was actually done? How many times people exactly know what is there in CCMP? The CCMP document is again most neglected. It just lies in the drawer of a CISO. So make sure that your CMT undergo a drill once or twice a year, simulate the cyber crisis, get them involved and engaged, and most importantly, engage your end user because he is your biggest and most important shield against data issues. And get your data privacy assessment done because very soon we'll be having a compliance coming up with DPDP 23. So that should be also looked into. So that is all this the financial services company has to do. Looks a long laundry list, but I think it is essential to ensure that we do it because we have the responsibility of the protecting the most important asset, that's information.
Absolutely. And on that note, I would like to ask Mr. Sunil the same question actually, that with the number of cybersecurity breaches on the rise, what proactive measures should financial services firms take to detect and respond potential threats, especially in the context of customer services?
I will answer this question from digital data security and data privacy angle. So if you start from a data life cycle, right from data acquisition or maybe data collection, you can say, if I will just club it with a privacy thing. So we need to find out, okay, how we are collecting data. What are the ways? Are there digital touch points? Are there any paperwork we are doing? Paperwork is of course possible. Many of financial institutions are doing that. One need not to submit their Aadhaar card or need not to submit their PAN card because with the help of eKYC, CKYC, going paperless is very easy. All one need to put their PAN number and date of birth and one can fetch the details. So we need to identify how we are collecting those data, how we are storing it. From privacy perspective, we need to find out, are we really taking a consent? The consent is not a scarecrow. It's like in bits and pieces, all organizations are doing that. Even we are using a mobile app, we provide some consent, like app asking us some permissions and we provide that. So consents are also getting registered. But we need to cross-check whether those consents are getting registered for some kind of lawful purpose and is that purpose getting served with the data you are processing. We need to verify that. After that, data, how it's going to retain, how it's going to process, we need to check. So if it is residing on some platform, is it encrypted? Or are we following a regulatory standard for that? Or are we just something like, is there any international standards referring to some part of particular encryption, some size or some algorithm? So adopt that. That will help to you secure your data. And Mr. Jitendra rightly said, your DLP, your EDR, all those measures will be there to secure that data. Plus, identity and access management will play a huge role. Principle of least privilege will help you to provide access to those who actually require that access. The moment you are done with that, all you need to proceed to the next, like how long you want to retain that data, then your backup management and everything comes in picture. Okay. Okay, you are through with that. The next challenge will be how you are destroying that data. Is again your data retention policy will tell you. In this life cycle of data, there are multiple controls from privacy side. You can list down those controls. If you will go through that law, that will help you to understand what controls one need to apply at what stage. There was another question. If I will little bit deviate from that, my colleague asked whether CISO can act as a DPO or we need to have a separate DPO. That's a great question. It is unsolvable, but it is the easiest way out that organizations can name CISO as a DPO. But trust me, if you will go through that act, there are two parts. One is privacy by design and another is privacy by default. Privacy by design is nothing but all technical controls which we are talking. They are all security controls. And there will be privacy by default. That will be a purely legal work. Someone sending you a request for how their data is getting processed, or maybe data erasure request, how you are going to handle that. There are a number of compliances. There will be understanding your PII data and understanding its value, cyber risk quantification. In our previous panel, we heard that some quantification exercise, someone is going to talk about that. But are we really doing a cyber risk quantification? Are we defining a value of our PII? Of course, we need to do that. Without that, we'll not come to know what cost we are dealing with. Because data in any number will not be enough, maybe for restoring or maybe for damage control or impact assessment. We need to quantify it in some way. Okay? So, in a nutshell, if we are doing all those things, we are complying with the regulatory requirement. And of course, to conclude that DPO part, one DPO need to be separate. CISO cannot, CISO can play that role, but it will not be sufficient. Looking at the great exposure and great reach of data privacy law, we need to have a DPO team form, right from business people, as he rightly said, business is the data owner. Without business, no one knows what that data exactly is. So we need someone from business, we need someone from compliance, we need someone from technical side. That's how you form your DPO office, and you need to have certain lawyers who understand the laws properly to handle those queries. So while saying that, these are some proactive measures. If you follow these things, you are of course you are securing your data from both security as well as privacy angle. Threats will be there at large. No matter what you do, you are still susceptible to attacks. So all you need to do is like undertake certain measures. Have your, as he said, have your business impact assessment done, crowd join assessment done, then your DR drills regular, penetration testing from outside. There will be some breach attack simulations, red teaming exercise. All we need to do that. Plus, we need to have a great team for threat hunting. Whatever feeds you are getting from various sources, tap those feeds, update your indicator of compromise, and monitor it. That's how you can secure your data.
Thank you so much for this wonderful answer. And I would like to question the same question to Mr. Praveen, that with the number of security breaches, what are the measures to detect and respond the potential threats, especially in the context of customer service?
I think Sunil has covered most of the aspects, but then I'd like to say a popular saying, it's like if you sweat more in peacetime, less blood would be flown in the war. So I think that's how, the cybersecurity angle is. The more you practice when you're not breached, the more safe you are. So right from assessing what is at risk, first thing, it is very important to understand what data is exposed and how it is exposed, what are the risks associated with it, and then ensuring we are safeguarding those data, building guardrails, having proper processes around it to safeguard it, and continuously assessing it. Rather, for technical controls, we do the BAS and red teaming, which Sunil already mentioned. For process compliance, we do audits, check all the processes are followed, people are using their right authentication and authorization. Someone who is supposed to have access to data is only having access to data, and someone who is not required is not having access to the data. And the third angle would be continuous training and assessments. So I think my co-panelist has mentioned the importance of CCMP. So we have a document which says whenever a cyber crisis happens, what should we do, how things would be managed. But then we cannot wait for it to happen and then figure out what is written. It has to be practiced. So right from all the layers, the senior management, the technical team, and the business team, okay, and the staff who is handling the data, everyone should be assessed, made aware of their roles and responsibilities, made aware of the risk associated with the data they are handling. Because the most important aspect is people should know the data which they're handling, what are the risks associated with it. If the IT guy who is a server admin, he knows that if I make a configuration change during the business hours or there would be an impact. We have change control, we have all the processes, but if the impact is known, he would do it properly. The importance of testing, it's not just the cybersecurity threat, there are supply chain attacks. So it's very important that we test the patches which are delivered to us by the OEMs or the vendors in the UAT environment and test the functionality so that we don't, get into an issue in the production. So all these smaller bits and pieces of processes which are built, that has to be followed meticulously, religiously, so that we have a predictable environment and we don't get into a situation where we have some anomaly detected and the persons are not aware, how do I react to it? So if that is taken care, because security is a journey. Never would be a day anyone can say that I'm 100% secure. But then what you can do is you can ensure, you can enrich your journey, you can upgrade yourself day by day. Okay, that's the most important aspect. And then apart from doing internal controls of all these things, it is very important we do dark web monitoring, understand if there is any data leaked. If it is leaked, ensure that it is taken down within a timely manner so the impact can be mitigated. And understanding the channels or the partners which we are used, sensitizing them, they are dealing with bank's data, and at the end of the day, bank is responsible for their customers' data. It is not the partner or vendor. And unfortunately, we had one scenario with a large private bank where the bank was not responsible for the data leak, and the partner was, but then the bank got impacted because of that. So understanding the entire ecosystem of the partner and ensuring they are aware that dealing with sensitive data and they have to handle the data with care. So I think that's how we can kind of prevent the cybersecurity attacks. But then you can never be sure that you're safe. So it is a journey and we have to continue the practices throughout the life cycle.
Absolutely. So the final question will be to you, sir. Like the same question about cybersecurity. What proactive measures should financial services and take to detect and respond to potential threats?
Yeah, so we need to closely monitor all the customer complaints. We need to carry out a detailed root cause analysis of complaints highlighting data breaches. We need to implement rigorous compliance monitoring, not just by formulating corrective action plans, but also ensuring it is effectively executed. Regular audits and assessments is a must to identify and address any shortcomings in IT governance and security practices. Investing in state-of-art cyber security technology and providing comprehensive training will surely ensure, that it strengthens the defense against any evolving cyber threats. And continuous education and awareness programs, which will foster a culture of cyber security vigilance among staff members. I think these are the most important points which must be ensured, and multi-factor authentication, which our friend just mentioned, especially for privileged users who are handling critical information systems or handling critical activities, having logs of all the users basically who are having elevated system access entitlements, and doing periodic reviews or audits of these users is a must. I think these few key points will help. And additionally, what the most important is the contract that we have with service providers who are handling customer data should obligate these service providers to promptly or immediately inform the financial services entity about any data breach that happens at their facility, so that corrective measures can be taken by the entity, and it can be reported to the regulator as required. Thank you.
Thank you all our esteemed panelists today for sharing wonderful views for this very important topic, the data dilemma, balancing privacy and security in the digital age. Just to conclude, as we come to our conclusion, I would like to ask one question, like coming to this topic, the data dilemma, balancing privacy and security in the digital age. How important it is for especially the geriatric society to, be trained. And because we all are trained, we all are in the process of training. So how important and what are your views? Like for the geriatric society, the old age people who are facing numerous issues regarding this. So if each one of you could answer this along with your concluding remark on this topic today. I'll start with sir. I'll start with Jitendra ji.
Actually, you have asked a very valid point, because in today's world, more and more automation, digitalization is happening. The younger generation is leaping forward, and so-called older generation is lagging behind. So I think here what we have been talking about in our own company as well is that we should be having a specific training sessions and the do's and the don'ts in a very creative manner. For example, think before you click is a very simple agenda, and many of the people are aware in the younger generation. But older people still have a habit कि WhatsApp में आया तो click करना ही है. Or if you have to give the OTP, everybody believes कि OTP मांगा तो OTP देना ही है. So these are the small aspects which there should be a small training video created, and which we will try with our marketing team to do that and put that to circulation, because the many of the breaches are happening because of the user not being aware about the potential threat. And Pooja, if I can get a liberty of 30 seconds more to talk about my closing remarks, I'm ending with this dilemma, and my colleagues on my left were talking about the dilemma is whether the CISO should be the data protection officer, and he mentioned that as of now it is the right thing to do out of convenience. But I have a very strong view, and I would want you to take that and talk to your management, that the CISO should be the data protection officer for first 1 year, because he's the technical guy who understands the data completely well, and he's well versed with all the nuances of the data protection policy. The business colleagues will always be in the initial phases, we keep on foundering there, because they will be more inclined towards the data which they are generating and not protecting. So data protection office should be from the CISO office for 1 year. You can have a long-term roadmap that I will give it to somebody else, but the first year should be the CISO himself, because he is responsible for the compliance of the RBI and compliance of the Act. So that's very essential part. The second part, which my personal experience I would want to leave behind with all of you all there, just as way you're focusing on security of your information assets, please focus on the resilience, because it is not far away when the resilience will become a mainstay, because the RBI has started coming in with the BCP of the outsourced vendors. We already are doing the BCP for our own organization. So resilience is what we should keep on practicing, to have more drills to ensure what we think is effective is actually effective or not. Thank you very much, Pooja, for this extended time.
Thank you so much. I would like to ask the same question to Mr. Sunil. if you could answer the question of your concluding remarks.
Sure. I really like your question, but think differently. Is age going to save you no matter how old you are? If you are using a technologies, you are susceptible to any kind of attack. A lot of con artists are out there. They can fabricate any situation. They can lure you, and they can make you pray, or they can lure money from you. So age is not going to save up, but what is going to save you is your education, awareness. If you will see, RBI is trying to create a lot of awareness amongst all citizens. Similarly, I will say we also interact on daily basis to many people in our life. Why don't we start educating them? I will urge each one of us to be that change. Start talking about these issues. If you are buying some vegetables or if you are just talking to some vendors, make them aware. Make yourself approachable so that people feel free to talk to you about those issues. Right now, what's happening? These issues are everywhere, but people don't know whom to approach, how to approach, what to talk, how to find a solution. They will simply ignore it, and that ignorance become a bliss for attacker. So awareness is the key, and we can be the change. We can talk about awareness. We can spread awareness by ourselves, and we can make our society safer place to live.
Thank you so much. I'll come to Mr. Praveen. Your concluding remarks and your answer, please.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty. We have to stick to the basics: people, process, technology. I think if all these three are taken care, we should be in a better state. People, awareness, telling them to report an incident. I think the other aspect, once you are aware, you know this is wrong. But then if you don't report, someone else will fall prey to it. So reporting should be encouraged. Okay, that's something which should be made because it can save others from being kind of getting the fraud situation. Okay, the process should be set. For a simple example, earlier Aadhaar card Xerox was given. Now it is fingerprint authentication. Although that's not foolproof, but then it has made the fraudsters attempt more difficult. He has to clone some fingerprint if he has something. So he has to try multiple options and it may not work. So that has certainly reduced the possibility of a fraud through Aadhaar because that was the most widely used solution for payments, in at least in the rural area or the tier 2 cities. Okay. And then the third is technology. I think RBI has given a very nice DPC controls. So if your device is jailbroken or it is rooted, it will give you a prompt that the app which you're using is not the real app. So we can't just always say awareness is the only method. We have to work on technology as well. If your device is, there are two simultaneous logins detected from a same ID, the system should throw an alert that there are two active alerts, active logins available. They should take an action based on that. So probably it's a journey and then multiple options would be there, but then all the three should be taken care.
Absolutely. Mr. Manoj, if your concluding remarks.
Yeah, so I think there is enough awareness that is being created today. If you compare it with how the situation was 5 years back, people are more aware and there is more usage of digital payments that we have seen, especially in this country. And I don't think age is the issue. The issue would be greed, maybe an emergency situation at that point in time, which, takes a person to, which allows the person to take that step and share his OTP or something like that. But I think, but awareness is to be created. It is a continuous process that is a must. And I've seen more people using DigiLockers at an age beyond 40 years, and I have not seen young generation using DigiLocker much. And I was made aware about it by my father-in-law who is 60 plus. I was not aware DigiLocker use करना. I'm talking about 5 years back. So he was the first person. तो मैं तो use कर रहा हूँ DigiLocker. मेरा आधार वहाँ पे, मेरा सब कुछ वहाँ पे. So that's the best way. It's a safe method of sharing information with any institution if it's on DigiLocker. So otherwise, we used to share it as hard copy, PAN, Aadhaar and all. So I think there is awareness. I think more awareness, it's a continuous process. And only these factors, at such situations, you need to people should just focus and think, am I sharing the my personal data with someone whom I can trust, or is it the real person on the other side? Now, with deepfake, it's more difficult to anticipate or understand whether the person, talking to me is the correct person or not. So it's difficult, but yes, now more awareness has to be created on the digital front, and I think it will surely help.
Thank you so much, all our esteemed panelists today, for this wonderful session and very enriching session on the data dilemma, balancing the privacy and security in the digital age.